Making a modern video game is practically a miracle. Today, a single AAA title requires hundreds of developers, massive studios, and budgets that rival Hollywood blockbusters. Take Cyberpunk 2077, for instance. It took a core team of over 500 people, years of exhausting development, and a staggering budget of over $400 million just to bring Night City to life. Game production on this scale is a massive, high-stakes machine. But every now and then, a single, incredibly talented developer defies the entire industry. They don't have millions of dollars or armies of coders, just a laptop and a vision. And against all odds, they build masterpieces entirely by themselves. Today, we're counting down the top 10 legendary video games that were created by just one person. In the 10th rank, we have Dust, an Elysian Tale. Released in 2012, initially on the Xbox 360, this game received an overwhelmingly positive reaction from players. The ratings were sky high, and for good reason. The hand-painted graphics are breathtaking, the hack-and-slash gameplay is incredibly entertaining, and the story hooks you from start to finish. What makes it truly mind-blowing is that it was built almost entirely by one single person, Dean Dodrill. An illustrator and animator by trade, Dean spent 4 years from 2008 to 2012 coding, designing, and animating the entire masterpiece by himself. Taking the 9th spot is a game that practically defined an entire generation of internet culture. Five Nights at Freddy's.
Why's my light flickering?
Known globally as FNAF, it is easily one of the most famous horror franchises in history. Whether you've played it yourself or watched your favorite streamer scream at a jump scare, you know exactly what this game is. The concept is brutally simple. You play as a night shift security guard trapped in a possessed family restaurant, and your only goal is to manage your power, watch the cameras, and stay alive. But the story behind its creation is pure irony. It was built entirely by a solo developer named Scott Cawthon. Scott was actually a devout game developer who spent years making innocent, family-friendly games for kids. The problem? The feedback was brutal. Players complained that his characters looked terrifying, stiff, and robotic. Instead of giving up, Scott had a stroke of absolute genius. He took that exact criticism, leaned into it, and purposefully turned those creepy characters into animatronic monsters. The gamble paid off spectacularly. FNAF became a viral sensation, generating over 8 mainline sequels, spin-offs, a Hollywood movie, and millions of copies sold, ultimately earning Scott a massive empire worth tens of millions of dollars. It's the ultimate proof that sometimes your biggest criticism can become your greatest success. And coming in at rank number 8, we have Papers, Please. At first glance, you might judge this game poorly because the graphics look incredibly basic and old school. It was created by solo developer Lucas Pope, who deliberately chose a simple, retro style because he had a brilliant gameplay idea that didn't need flashy 3D graphics. The premise is simple but intense. You play as a border passport officer. People line up to enter the country, and your job is to inspect their documents and decide who gets in and who gets rejected. You have to carefully check every detail to spot forged passports, drug smugglers, or literal terrorists. One wrong move, one missed detail, and a bomber could blow up the checkpoint. Causing an instant game over. It is incredibly stressful, deeply entertaining, and when it dropped back in 2013, it completely took over the internet, with massive ratings and every major YouTuber making videos on it. At number 7, we have Roller Coaster Tycoon. This game became very famous in the early 2000s. If you played games when you were young, you probably know it. It was released in 1999, and almost the whole game was made by just one man, Chris Sawyer. The idea of the game is simple. You build your own amusement park. But don't worry, the game is not boring. It has a lot of small details. You can easily spend hours and hours trying to build the perfect park. The most amazing part is how he made it. He wrote the game code using a very difficult old programming language. Because of this, the game ran perfectly on every computer. When the game came out, it became a huge success. Chris Sawyer had a great contract, and he made around $30 million from it. Just imagine making a game when you are bored by yourself and becoming a millionaire from it. At number 6, we have an absolute masterpiece, PUBG. Now, I know what you are thinking. PUBG is huge, and a giant company works on it today. But the original idea came from just one man named Brendan Green. Back in 2016, Brendan was having a very hard time. He was unemployed, he was divorced, and he spent all his days just playing video games. His favorite game was a realistic military game called Arma 2. Arma 2 allowed players to create their own custom game modes, called mods. One day, because he was bored, Brendan decided to create a new mod. He made a game mode where 100 players land on an island, and only the last person alive wins. This was the birth of the very first Battle Royale. His mod became incredibly popular, and thousands of people started playing it. Soon, a Korean company named Krafton noticed his work. They contacted Brendan and asked him, "Do you want to come to Korea and build a full game based on your idea?" Of course, he said yes. He went to Korea, worked with their team, and together they created PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. So yes, a big company makes PUBG today, but the entire idea started with just one unemployed man playing games in his room. At number 5, we have an amazing puzzle game called Braid. Many older gamers consider this the best puzzle game they have ever played in their entire lives. And just like our other entries, it was made by only one man, Jonathan Blow. Before making this game, Jonathan had a very difficult time. He tried to apply for jobs at different gaming companies, but they all rejected him. This made him very upset. But instead of giving up, he thought, why don't I just make my own game? So, in 2006, he started working on Braid completely by himself. 2 years later, in 2008, the game was released to the public. The success was incredible. The game sold over 1 million copies, and Jonathan made millions of dollars. He took all of this money and used it to start his very own game studio. Just like that, he changed from an unemployed developer into the boss of his own gaming company. In the 4th spot, we have a game that truly needs no introduction, Tetris. Even if you've somehow never stacked a single block yourself, you have undoubtedly seen it. It is one of the best-selling video games in human history, racking up hundreds of millions of copies sold across almost every device imaginable. But what makes Tetris truly remarkable isn't just its addictive gameplay, it's the wild history behind it. The entire game was created by just one man, Alexei Pajitnov. In 1984, Pajitnov was working as a computer engineer for the Academy of Sciences in Moscow. This was during the height of the Cold War, an intense period of geopolitical tension between the United States and the Soviet Union. Deeply passionate about traditional puzzle games, Pajitnov decided to program a digital version of a classic pentomino puzzle. He named his creation Tetris, a mashup of the Greek prefix tetra, meaning 4, as every block consists of 4 squares, and tennis, his favorite sport. The game became an instant obsession. It spread like wildfire through the Soviet Union, captivating children, teenagers, and adults alike. However, Because the game was created on government-owned equipment under a communist regime, the Soviet government claimed absolute ownership of the rights. They began licensing Tetris globally, making millions of dollars, while Pajitnov didn't see a single penny. Speaking out or trying to claim the profits during that era was incredibly dangerous and could have landed him in prison. Pajitnov's luck finally changed after the collapse of the Soviet Union. In the 1990s, he immigrated to the United States. With the help of a business partner and legal experts, he formed the Tetris Company and finally reclaimed the rights to his own masterpiece. Today, Pajitnov finally receives the royalties and the recognition he earned decades ago. In third place, we have Undertale. Now, if you've never heard of this game or seen it before, your first reaction might be, what even is this? And why are the graphics so bad? But trust me, look past the retro visuals. Undertale is officially ranked as one of the best games in the world. While I haven't played it myself, the premise is fascinating. It's a 2D indie game where you control a young child who falls into an underground world full of monsters. To survive, you have to either fight them or find a way to make peace. The mastermind behind this masterpiece is Toby Fox, who started making it when he was just a 22-year-old university student. As a passionate gamer, Toby was frustrated that almost every game forced players to kill their enemies. He wanted a game where mercy was an option. So, he spent 2.5 years creating Undertale entirely by himself. His hard work paid off massively. The game has sold over 3 million copies, turning Toby into an overnight millionaire and an indie gaming legend. In second place, we have Bright Memory, Infinite. The craziest part about the footage you're seeing right now is that this whole game was made by just one guy. Honestly, the graphics look way better than a lot of games made by massive studios with huge budgets. It's a single-player action and shooter game, and the guy who made it is a 21-year-old university student from China named Zheng Xiangcheng. He only worked on it during his free time. What's even wilder is that he wasn't even a game developer and had zero experience before this. So, how did he actually pull this off? He basically just downloaded Unreal Engine, which is the same software used for huge games like Fortnite and Street Fighter, and taught himself how to use it using online tutorials. And just like that, he made this insane game all by himself. Before it was a global phenomenon played by millions, the undisputed king of our list was just a line of code on a home computer in Sweden. Minecraft, the best-selling video game of all time, was created entirely by a single programmer named Marcus Persson. Back in 2009, Marcus was working a completely normal day job, using his evenings and weekends to bring a passion project to life. The moment he put an early version of the game online, the hype exploded. Recognizing he had something special, he quit his job to focus on development full-time, rapidly selling hundreds of thousands of copies on his own. The game's meteoric rise eventually caught the attention of Microsoft, who acquired Minecraft in 2014 for an astronomical $2.5 billion. It's the ultimate gaming fairy tale, a solo project that started in a spare room and ended with its creator becoming a billionaire. If you enjoyed the story and think this video deserves a like, I'd really appreciate it if you dropped one.